Hi everybody, my name is Sarah Devlin and today is our third installment of the Flashback book review series that I've been doing. It is about books that I read in middle school and high school, and I'm rereading them now that I'm an adult, out of high school, pretty much out of college, all that sort of stuff. I apologize in advance for the echoiness. I'm actually filming this in the hallway at home because it's really the only place with a blank white wall, which I like to use. So today we are going to be reviewing the Geek Social Club. Now this is the first book in the series that is not in diary format and it's not a dystopian future sort of thing. It's by Laura Preble and it was published in 2006, I believe. Yes, 2006, which makes this one of the oldest books. Same as the book from last week, Life as We Knew It. So the idea of this book is that Shelby Chappelle is a geeky girl who's a freshman in high school and is looking for friends. She's lonely, doesn't really have anybody to talk to, nobody that thinks like her. She's convinced that everybody else that goes to her uber rich public school, I'm not sure whether it's public or private, but regardless, nobody likes to think, nobody wants to read a book, that sort of thing. And then a new girl, Becca, shows up from Los Angeles. They live in San Diego. So it is a story about the two of them, and they start the Geek Social Club at their high school to find other geeks. It's a young adult contemporary novel. I was pretty geeky, you may or may not be able to tell, in middle school and high school, and I really enjoyed this book at the time just because it felt like, it felt like something I would enjoy doing at my school, although I don't know how I would do that because the school I went to didn't have nearly as many resources or as many people. It's also an entirely different atmosphere, mainly because I lived on the other side of the country and in a small town. I thought Shelby and Becca were very cool when I was probably 13 or 14, but I reread it now, and I have to say I did not really enjoy this book at all this second time around. It kind of felt like the entire book was, but I'm not like other girls, the whole idea that they're better because they don't go clothes shopping at the mall. They think that's dumb. They think that's lame. The mall is idiotic, that kind of thing. They play pranks on people when they do go to the mall, and Becca pretends to be a health inspector to get free food from one of them, and it was like, well, that's kind of, I'm pretty sure, illegal and really rude, and you shouldn't mess with service people like that, because the boy that's working behind the counter really does think he's going to get fired for a second. What else? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't really want to be friends with any of them. Like, Shelby definitely is not very nice. She's mean. She's catty, I guess. She, purposely says things because she knows it'll hurt people's feelings. Becca is just abnormally cheerful. She just doesn't feel fleshed out as a character, because I know some people are happy a lot. I'm happy a lot. I'm a very optimistic person for the most part, but it just feels like the author barely touches on any sort of emotional depth to her, and that their relationship is very Becca taking care of Shelby, Becca taking care of Shelby as opposed to the other way around. It's a very one-way relationship between the two of these girls. There were some mentions of Fatphobia in this book. Shelby, when she's being mean, makes fun of a girl for her weight. Just a lot of times being fat is, associated with being, evil or bad, which is totally not correct and not a good thing. The author tries to portray girls as not needing guys, which is good in of itself. It just the message doesn't really come through. And what else? There's a lot of cultural appropriation. Becca's parents are Buddhist, but not really. They're just, you know, they take the elements of Buddhism that they like, I guess. She has a dragon tattoo on her leg that just, she's like, oh, it's some Buddhist thing that my parents are involved in, I guess. I don't know what it is, which if it has a religious or spiritual meaning, I feel like you should know what it is and be of that religion or spirituality if you're gonna get it tattooed on your body. I don't know, the girls just, I don't know, they're constantly fighting. The minor characters constantly fight. Every time they get together to talk, they fight. And it just feels very exaggerated, as if it wasn't written by somebody who ever was a teenage girl. Just a very exaggerated way of saying, this is what teenage girls are like. They're catty, they're mean, you know. That being said, I wouldn't want to be friends with any of these girls for that reason. Now that I'm done ragging on the characters. Not too much else to say. It felt very... it felt very much like the author was speaking instead of the characters were speaking. There were a lot of times when Shelby, the main character, would stop and address the reader directly instead of having conversations and dialogue with Becca or any of the other characters. So that I didn't like either. That was kind of jarring. There was no LGBT representation. In fact, the several characters used the idea of being a lesbian as a negative thing. Oh, well, if, you know, she doesn't want to date me, she must be a lesbian. And just as an insult in general. The club itself was very diverse. But again, it was in a sort of tokenistic way. None of the characters were really fleshed out in any way other than to be mentioned once. What else? Oh, at the very beginning of the book, like the first couple pages, there is a mention of sexual assault. So if you don't want to read about that, you might not want to read the first chapter of the book. It's definitely interesting, but it feels like, I don't know, it feels like I said at the beginning, it's not anything to bring girls together, more to tear them. Like, I'm better than you because I'm not like the other girls. I like to read. Popular girls can't read, you know? If you enjoy makeup, you can't read, you can't be smart, that kind of thing. A lot of the narrative just doesn't seem consistent with that sort of thing. I think that's it overall, so I would not recommend this book. It just doesn't interest me anymore at all, and I actually did have a hard time finishing it, so I hate to say that. I hate to be really negative. And I wish I had positive things to say about this rather than all negative. But honestly, it's more of a negative or indifferent. There aren't really any parts I enjoyed of it. It was all, well, this part isn't bad, but I don't enjoy it, or this part's bad. So it's kind of a shame to have to say that, but yeah, that's why I'm going through these books. So I hope you've enjoyed this installment of the Flashback book reviews, and I hope that you stick around to see the next one. Bye!